It was the go-home Smackdown, but it was also pre-taped last week to give the talent American Thanksgiving off. That was a nice thing. But that also meant that nothing that important was going to happen. But there was some good stuff that happened. I'm going to do this real quick. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean, and these are my assorted thoughts on the November 28th, 2025 WWE Smackdown. I'm recording this about an hour and 15 minutes before Survivor Series starts, WarGames, the whole thing on Saturday. And this is probably going to come out after. So I'm going to keep it quick, and I'm not going to focus on the stuff that has Survivor Series ramifications because I don't know what's happened in Survivor Series yet. But when you see this, I will know, and you will know as well, too. Okay, let's just start with the end. I did enjoy the classic Survivor Series match. Team Sami Zayn, the Motor City Machine Guns, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Rey Fenix versus Team MFTs, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, and JC Mateo. I think maybe I enjoyed it a little bit more than the crowd. The crowd really didn't seem that into it, but of course it was a double taping. It was potentially the last thing they saw after a double taping, but it was still fun. It was still good. I'm glad we had it. Of course, we got Shinsuke out the first one out was Tonga Loa, and then it was JC Mateo, then Shinsuke, then Tonga Loa. It was, of course, a showcase for Rey Fenix and Tama Tonga, the Tama Tonga. Of course, those two are probably going to be in a feud. But of course, Phoenix was out, and we were left with Tama Tonga, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga against Sami Zayn. But being at a disadvantage and overcoming the odds is where Sami Zayn eats, and it made sense how it happened. Yeah, he powered up. He got rid of Tama Tonga right away, and then it made sense that Tama Tonga was eliminated by countout. And then I thought, okay, that means he's gonna pull through. He's gonna beat Solo, but no. Eventually, Solo won. He won clean. But it makes sense because it's set up for the Wyatt Six coming in and attacking Solo, and then with Uncle Howdy giving the Sister Abigail to Solo. And, setting up a feud with the MFTs against the Wyatt Six makes a lot more sense if they're coming off a victory rather than a loss. Also, this closes out the Sami Zayn chapter because, Sami, he got his victory. He won the U.S. title. And then they went away for a while, and he ended up losing the U.S. title, but not back to Solo in a tournament. And now we're setting up for MFTs versus Wyatt Six, which at one point people were rumoring was going to be the WarGames match, the men's WarGames match. I'm glad that didn't happen, but good setup for it, and I'm heading to that in the future. Looking forward to that, and also looking forward to Sami Zayn being maybe in a more main event program, maybe back on Raw. Who knows? He's got to get back into that picture. I did enjoy the women's WarGames Advantage match and even some of the setup to it, the backstage stuff. Of course, I enjoyed it. It was a match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka, which is actually, and they made a reference to the fact that it was the last time Charlotte fought Asuka that she got injured and was out for over a year. Of course, it wasn't Asuka's fault, but they kind of implied that it was. And, that's how they do these things. It was a good match. It was a fun match. The outcome was very expected. The babyface is getting the advantage, and how it happened was cool too. But what I wasn't expecting was Asuka to screw up and miss the timekeeper, who Corey Graves referred to as what do you call him? Shockmaster Jr. Because Fred Ottman, who was Tugboat and Typhoon, and then embarrassingly the Shockmaster for that one time in WCW. Google Shockmaster. There's only one video you really need to see on that. Maybe they could have been nicer to him, but also that timekeeper is also Cody Rhodes' cousin somehow. They had referenced him before because Cody defended him at one point. So that was an interesting little bit. And then Asuka ended up losing. Good match. Of course, I knew it was going to happen, but it was a fun little twist at the end. I'm glad we had the Chelsea Green celebration. It was fun while it lasted. Of course, sadly, it said Secret Hervis, but it was only Alba Fire. I hope Piper Niven gets well soon and is back. Maybe they'll replace her with someone else. I don't know. But Chelsea really, I think, even though the first time was just Piper, she really needs the double backup. And she could have used a bit of backup because Jade Cargill came down and took her out. Now, yeah, in storyline kayfabe, it made sense. Chelsea was trash talking, saying she was the best women's champion, whereas Cargill's the top champion. But just, I don't know what they're doing with having. Hopefully, it's not going to turn into an actual feud. Maybe it was just a little thing there, because they're definitely they really want Chelsea Green to be the heel because she's a funny heel. They're finally getting that working. They finally got Jade Cargill heel. The last thing they want to do is have heel versus heel. It just doesn't make sense. So I don't know what they're doing with that. The backstage bit with Cargill and BFAB and Michin. Michin's the next one. Have Cargill dominate. Have Chelsea have her own stories. Don't mix it together. But still, it was a proper way to end this segment. For the two Cena last time is now tournament matches. Well, the first one, Jey Uso versus Rusev. I was trying to predict what was happening as I was watching it. I thought, Rusev, because ultimately I think Gunther's going to win the tournament. So in the final, if it was Rusev versus Gunther, that could be interesting. But I wasn't really following the brackets. But no, the only way Rusev could have really won was if there was vision interference, because they're not going to have him beat Jey Uso. They'll have him beat Sheamus, but they're not going to have him beat Jey Uso clean. Miz and LA Knight was a good match, but I kind of knew LA Knight was going to win because the Miz wasn't supposed to be his opponent. It's supposed to be Sheamus. Now, although maybe if Sheamus was supposed to go on, maybe Miz would take his place. I did find it funny and clever how Miz snuck into the tournament by replacing the name in the ball there with using R-Truth's distraction, talking about his ball cheesy comedy, what have you. But I know that for referees, if a referee doesn't see it, instant replay doesn't count. But does a general manager, if he doesn't see it, if he watches the tape back, can't he change his? No, I guess it's his decision without seeing that was finally announced the name. Just the things you have to accept with wrestling. I love it. Of course, the match was good. Now, LA Knight is going on. But let's talk about the tournament in general and how it's going. Now, from the very start, I thought Gunther was going to win. I still think Gunther is going to win and going to face John Cena. I think people are pretty sure about that. But some of the matches, I'm pretty sure they've had to change gear a few times. For example, they obviously had to change gear because Sheamus got injured. So they had to replace him with The Miz, but maybe Sheamus was not, maybe LA Knight was supposed to get to the final anyways. I thought Sheamus might have been a dark horse candidate to win the tournament so he could get the IC title, but no. I think that one, at least they just had to have an extra match with Miz, which is kind of annoying to Miz. Twice he's denied, even though he sneaks in his way in. But I'm pretty sure that Solo Sikoa versus Gunther wasn't supposed to happen. I think, yes, Penta got injured, but I think Penta versus Gunther makes a lot more sense because they're really pushing Gunther as a heel. Yes, Gunther is the honorable heel, but he's dominant, and they want the crowd cheering his opponents. They want them cheering Cena. And I think him versus Solo Sikoa, I think Gunther is way more likable than Solo Sikoa character-wise. So I doubt people are going to cheer Solo. So I don't think they were going for Gunther versus Solo, but that's what they got. So so the semifinals, we have Gunther versus Solo Sikoa. We have Jey Uso versus LA Knight. I mean, now, offhand, it could theoretically be LA Knight winning, surprising everybody, and in DC fighting John Cena in his last match. I don't think they're going to do that. In fact, I think LA Knight's going to lose to Jey Uso, but then Jey Uso is going to lose to Gunther again, which is a WrestleMania, a match we've seen so many different times. In fact, LA Knight versus Gunther might be more interesting to see. I kind of hope it's that, but if it's Gunther versus Jey Uso, I still predict Gunther's going all the way to fight Cena. But let's see if Cena's going to be the Intercontinental Champion. By the time you watch this, you'll already know that. And these were my assorted thoughts on the November 28th, 2025 WWE Smackdown. I thought the show was good. There was some stuff on that I liked. Did I absolutely need to see it to know what's going on? No, I could have just followed the recaps, but I'm glad I saw that. It could have been a bit better, but I think they did a good job with the Survivor Series match, but maybe next time don't do it on a taped show. Maybe put it in addition to the WarGames on Survivor Series. I don't know. What do you think of my assorted thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Also, jasoncmclean.bsky.social on Bluesky for wrestling news, silovoicewrestling.com. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications for all my hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, wrestling opinion pieces, WWE Premium Live Event prediction and review videos, and assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown. I will be back with my Survivor Series WarGames San Diego review. Until then, for Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.